Okay, what is going on, everybody? It's STG Weekly, episode 196. And this week, we're actually covering two games, Scramble by Konami and Gradius by Konami. Scramble, at one point, was considered the first of the Gradius series, but apparently later on, they kind of went back, they redacted that, but you can see the influence. Scramble has the forward shot and these downward missiles. You'll see that in Gradius here, but we are going to be covering both games, and Scramble shouldn't take too long, so figured we just get both out of the way. But to join as guests and experts on these two games, mainly we got Prickly Angler, but Super Viper coming on as support commentary, our resident big Gradius expert and such.
I know a little bit too much about this series for my own good.
Yeah, so, you know way too much.
So yeah, it should be good. Like I say, Scramble won't take too long, and also, by the way, I'm being co-hosted by GG Maximo as well.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, so just a quick little bit about Scramble before we get into this. Actually was the first side-scrolling game with unique levels with forced scrolling, so that's pretty cool. Xevious would be pretty close there too, but that would be a vertically scrolling game. I think they're pretty much like considered like pioneers for that. But yeah, so Scramble's pretty historic for that reason, and it's just awesome because yeah, it did kind of inspire Gradius. Was a big hit for Konami and Stern, who published it, the pinball company. So yeah, pretty sweet.
And according to the article on the cutting room floor, the copy protection they implemented was very basic, so the game and the hardware it ran on were bootleg to hell and back.
Yeah, it led up to many clones. Like there were Scramble clones the same way there was Space Invader clones. Like I think Battle of Atlantis was one of the most famous ones. The one with the submarine was basically just like Scramble.
Nice.
Yeah, they learned their lesson when Time Pilot came around, and Time Pilot has like 50 different anti-piracy measures.
Yeah. And it was, a big success, like you said, Aquas. I think it was 15,000 copies sold, which is pretty big for arcade standards. And on an interview, the founder of Konami said it was the most important game for the company because it basically launched the company into public and into like major arcade games.
Yeah,
and
that's great. That's great.
This come out before or after Frogger?
I'm not sure, but
I know they came out in the same year.
Yeah, the Scramble is often like considered like on some standards like the first shmup in the sense that you have four scrolling. Like before there was a Defender which invented the horizontal scrolling shmups, but in Defender you could choose basically the scrolling, whereas in Scramble you're forced, and it's also I think the first shmup to have like really different levels, like in terms of gameplay, and each stage has like an idea. A concept that you need to understand to get past through it. It's also, I think, one of the first shmups, or maybe like the first shmup that you can actually one credit clear. Like you can see the ending is just not only one screen endlessly repeating.
Did eventually get a sequel known as Super Cobra, which is almost the exact same game.
Yeah.
And in fact, the Super Cobra would go on to be the name of the second player ship in Salamander 2. So look at that.
Yeah, exactly. And Super Cobra is also very hard compared to Scramble. Like Scramble is honestly quite easy. Yeah, it took me only a couple of hours to once you see it. But yeah, like Super Cobra. Actually, I discovered the game because of Super Cobra because I was watching Uncle play the game for Callis Cup. And the game seemed interesting, so I picked it up on Arcade Archives, and then I picked up Scramble on the Konami Arcade Classics collection. And that's how I came to know about the game, because oftentimes in like there's this famous documentary about shmups that was made in France like 20 years ago, and they talk about like how Gradius like invented everything, but that's not actually quite true because Scramble already invented quite some stuff and it is already quite modern for its time compared to other shmups at the time.
Yeah, I would say Gradius invented a lot of stuff, but Scramble paved the way for Gradius to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think on some games, like on some trivia stuff, like Scramble is considered like the first game of the Gradius series. And I think when the game was developed, at least according to developers, the Gradius was going to be Scramble too, basically.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only time like they ever like officially mention that Scramble is part of the Gradius canon is in the opening to Gradius Galaxies.
Oh, okay, okay.
They do reference it there, but that's the only time I've ever seen it referenced in that manner.
Yeah, like in the lore and aside from interviews. Oh, I see. Yeah. But yeah, the game is still quite different from Gradius. But it's a fun game. I think it's quite simple, but for the time, I think it's brings like quite of new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like so yeah, we can just get right into it here. One of the things about the game, so of course, is you have the fuel management. So you gotta shoot the fuel tanks to maintain fuel, otherwise you lose a life. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I'm ready
other
whenever
than
you are.
that, other than that, that's pretty much it. So we'll get into the replay here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna count us down. Yeah, this is not a long one, so this is gonna be a little short feature overall. But yeah, we'll get into it here. All right, I'm gonna count us down. It'll be on go. 3, 2, 1, go.
So this is played on the Konami Arcade Classics, as I've said. The game wasn't ported yet to Arcade Archive, so basically it's more or less the only way you can play it legally. But I think it emulates fairly well. The game, basically, you have two buttons. You have the shot and like the bomb, which is basically like the spread bomb you have in like Gradius 2, Gradius 3. What's important to understand is that the bomb follows the scrolling. So you really want to aim well, and I suggest for this game to have separate buttons for shot and bomb. I think if you put it in one button, it's not too bad, but personally, I prefer to have two.
Yeah, on Konami Classic Series Arcade Hits for the DS, which also has this game, Rapid Fire and Rapid Missile are mapped to the same button, and it controls all right from my experience.
Yeah, it's okay. Right now, I'm not using autofire, but it's not too bad because you can get the perfect frequency with just a few taps. And for the bombs, basically, I try to aim them for enemies and fuel because as you said, Aquas, you have a fuel bar at the bottom, and when you reach 0, basically you die. So you have to destroy like the fuel tanks on the ground. This is basically like the area of shmups where like nothing is really defined yet. So basically all companies were like trying to invent concept and things like that. Like this one wasn't taken back in other shmups except Super Cobra, but I think it's a fun idea. I mean, maybe it wouldn't work for like a model.
Concept, if not a little bit on the tedious side. Also, these enemies, these UFOs that are moving up and down, are impossible to hit. I swear.
They're super annoying.
These things move way too fast.
Yeah. This one is random actually. The fireballs come in a random way, so you have to more or less improvise. But it's not too bad. The only thing that is a bit stressful in this stage is that you can run out of fuel pretty quickly, and you have to be focusing on dodging and on dropping the bombs to get the fuel tanks. Like oftentimes
I found that staying near the bottom is sometimes helpful, but occasionally you'll get those patterns that do make you have to move up.
Yeah, exactly. Like staying on the bottom is fine most of the time, but sometimes you have no choice than to move to cross a mountain, and then you get hit by a fireball. And this stage is also actually random, like the rockets. And actually, I've never understood this game's hitboxes. They're really weird.
I don't think it's entirely random. I do think that like most of the cannons can be predicted based on my experience, which is for this game is somewhat limited. But there's definitely like you can stay at the your ship can't go more than halfway across the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
You can stay around there, and for the most part, the cannons will just barely miss you. But, there are some instances where like you do kind of have to keep moving back and forth, and this stage is just stupid.
This is
basically you have to move perfectly in order to get through here, and if you're even like a tiny bit too slow, you're dead.
The important thing to do here is to go forward as soon as you have the opportunity and move back if you're facing a wall. Otherwise, you will die. And this is a bit tricky because you have to get back and then get up. But that's actually the most difficult section. And actually, I'm going to die like an idiot. But thankfully, I passed the stage because the stage was considered to be passed, basically. Because if you die early on the stage, you get back. You'll be sent back to a checkpoint at the beginning of the stage. Like it's not like Super Corbo. You have several checkpoints per stage. Right now you have only one.
So is it true that if you don't destroy that final enemy in time, that the screen does start speeding up? Because I've heard that was the inspiration for like the high speed stages in Gradius 2, and I've never seen that happen.
Maybe. I think the inspiration for speed stage is more like the 5th stage, but actually on the last screen you have to destroy what I think it's called the booty or something like that. And,
no, it's Super Cobra, it's the booty.
Oh, in the Super Cobra, correct.
Okay. In that game, you're carrying away treasure or whatever it is.
Yeah, or something like that. Actually, if you don't destroy it, you'll just loop indefinitely, but there's no fuel, so you have to destroy it eventually. And the funny thing is, if you die after destroying it, it's okay. You will still be able to get back to the next loop with no lives lost. It's kind of funny.
And that Konami logo that's over there is replaced with nothing in the Stern versions of the game.
Yeah.
If you look on the game's TCRF page, there's actually quite a few minor differences, particularly in like graphics and stage layouts.
Yeah. The game has many ports, I think. Vectrex, there's GBA, DS. I think there's many ports. And right now we're into the loop. And actually, the only thing that is more difficult is that the fuel depletes much faster. Like, and we'll, I think, start getting faster in around 4th loop. Maybe reach max in the 4th loop. And up to that point, it's basically the same. So that's why on this game you can see like 20 alls or something on YouTube.
Yeah, I think I've seen like a 5-loop clear or something from Peg.
Yeah. It's really a short game. Like first loop is like 4 or 5 minutes, because basically there was no shmup like in this sense with different levels before. So I think. I can understand the limitation. Obviously, it's not going to keep you busy all day, but I think it's still nice to have like a beginning and an ending in the game. And actually, you were saying, you were saying it's random, but actually, I compared a few replays, and they didn't exactly come the same way. In my opinion, I think the ship can influence the spawn, but like sometimes one will spawn and one like, I think there's still a bit of randomness, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, and I think you only get one extend in this game, so life preservation is not the easiest thing ever. So once you die once and you can kind of blow through your lives pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in the last couple stages.
Yeah, I eventually did a 2-all on the game, but it's not a game like I want to necessarily play like all the time, but I really recommend it to anyone who wants to discover it because it's quite simple and it's quite basic, and it's basically like the start of shmups as we know them today with different stages and all. And I think it's still a nice game, like compared to many other games at the time.
Well, it's got some that really nice pacing where you're always like bombing. Trying to bomb stuff, and it's not really boring at all. So I can see why it was successful back then, and man, good shit.
Yeah. And Super Cobra is much more unforgiving, and on Super Cobra you have like tanks that shoot randomly, and like they're really annoying. So it's basically like you cannot really route it. Like here, like you have some randomness, but it's a good player. I think will be able to do like many loops without without much trouble if he or she put the time into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, any other any stuff about you think you guys missed about the commentary since we blasted through this one, or you think?
Yeah, if you played, I guess I could mention this. I don't remember what exactly it does, but on Konami Collector Series Arcade Advance for the Game Boy Advance, you can use the Konami code on the title screen to unlock something. I think it's like extra stages or something, but I don't remember what it was.
Nice. No, I don't have much to add about the game. Maybe that it inspired obviously many other shmups and things like like just be able to shoot and being able to fire a weapon that shoots downwards is like something you will see in like zillions shmups and I think it's nice to see it for the first time, like how it's implemented and such. But obviously I think Gradius is a much even though first Gradius is still a bit simple. I think it's a really big improvement on the Scramble formula.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which,
okay guys, well we're gonna switch over to Gradius, for this episode, doubleheader. So check this out. I got another title card here. I'm gonna flip up. Yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be our main feature on Gradius. The original, of course, we did kind of cover it in the Gradius Showcase episode I did a long time ago, but that was pretty casual. We'll get a little bit more in depth this time with the classic that everyone loves. Well, at least I sure do. In Gradius.
I absolutely hate it.
Oh, really?
Well, okay.
The first one, yeah, I think it's quite low on your tier list, right?
The person whose username was literally inspired by the main ship of the Gradius series hates it the most.
Yeah, but I think you prefer Gaiden or like maybe some.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or...
Well, I'm just kidding. By the way, I do love it. I do love the original.
Yeah,
game.
Yeah, but it's not like your favorite Gradius, like Scout, or myself, or.
I ranked this game in like C tier.
C tier, okay.
Man.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough.
Which is so good.
Okay. I mean, Gradius 2 is a big improvement, but man, this game's pretty damn fun, like overall. And then, yeah, so it does have obviously the selectable power-ups, and then the dynamic difficulty system, which are some of the features. And yeah, we'll have like the Moai heads appear for the first time and then stick through the series, and then we'll have the bubble system memory on the original arcade hardware, where the arcade hardware has to acclimate to the temperature of its environment so that it can run properly. We'll have to warm up. So that's what we're looking at right now, the warm-up screen. It has this nice music.
Yeah, this is literally the alarm music on my phone.
Wow.
Nice.
Like whenever I use my phone, that's alarm to wake up in the morning. This is what I hear.
Nice.
It's been my dream for so many years, and I finally made it a reality like 2 years ago.
Nice.
It's a good jingle.
Yeah, but eventually this game was ported to more traditional hardware, so the countdown actually runs a lot faster, and the same goes for all other bubble system games. Like Twinbee is another game that runs on the bubble system, and I think there's like 2 others, but I don't remember what they are. One of them is like called Galactic Frontiers or something. Is that a game that exists?
Galactic Warriors?
That might be it, I don't know. It's Galactic something.
Yeah, it was a very fragile system, and it survived. Like some of them survived, but like they're actually quite rare and quite expensive. And I've had the opportunity to play one at Spain at Mikado Game Center. Rocco has the PCB, and I've seen the morning music and like the green or pink setup screen, and it's actually took quite a while, but it was a very moving moment to see that live.
Presented by Konami.
Yeah, exactly. People were passing by, were like not understanding. And I'm saying like, this is a really good game. Like this is a really important game. Like they were like, what's this? And then it starts. But after the PCB is on, like you don't have to hear it again or anything. It's just the first time you boot it up. It takes a while. I think it was an anti-piracy measure or something like that.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I heard something like that, and from what I heard of one of the main devs, Mashiguchi, was that the system was actually quite powerful for the time in terms of graphics and everything.
Yeah, it doesn't really slow down a lot in the game, which is nice.
Actually, it does.
It does a little bit, but it's very situational.
Yeah, actually, like from my own experience, like it does a lot. Like for example, on the cell stage, like if you have all the options, you're firing the missile, the shot. Like I've played Archives port, and I was feeling like the game might be slowing down a bit too much. But after playing the PCB, like I can vouch, it's more or less the same thing. So yeah, if you're playing this game on MAME, you have like less slowdown than
I might be used to MAME, I guess, probably.
Yeah, and
I'm used to the PSP version, which has quite a few differences.
Yeah, and on the PSP version and PS1 and Saturn, and maybe on PC Engine, you can, I'm not sure for PC Engine, but you can put weight control off, so that way you won't have any slowdown. So it's more like a challenge. Like some players like to play like that. Like it's even on Gradius 2 and Gradius 3 ports. Like there's some players who play Gradius 3 Fire stage without slowdown. kind of crazy, but yeah, some players like to do it. And I think Scott also did a run with weight control, a max difficulty, and no shield. So yeah.
Right. Speaking of Scalt, that is the player of our replay of 3 loops cleared on 1 credit run that we'll be watching shortly. What else about this run that's special? Is it that he plays maximum speed the whole time? Is that right?
Yeah, more or less the whole time. And actually, it's really interesting because he's actually more comfortable with maximum speed. Like, it's not something he does like for the challenge or anything like that. It's really, he's more comfortable like that. And this is a run that actually pretty impressed me when I seen it. I think it's one of my favorite shmup runs. And actually, it's the community record for Gradius. Like actual community record, because before there was the Pericles score, but as you know, we don't know if it was legit or not, and Pericles did not care for defending his score. So this is the actual like non-Japanese best score on the game, and I think it's really impressive that it does it maximum speed because yeah, it's a really different way of playing it. And I met Scott on the Omcor's Discord, I think it was a few years ago. And we talked quite a lot about Konami games and Gradius series, etc. Even saw him stream the game live, and yeah, he's really good at the game. And I like a lot how he improvises the route and how he moves around, like doing some insane stuff. But it's not always the most safe or the most, but he always makes it. And yeah, he's a really very young player. And by the way, he's not with us tonight. Like, he's here on the chat. But he's not here tonight because his English isn't like he reads and writes very well, but his accent is a bit hard to understand even for me. So yeah, but even though I don't feel like usually too confident commentating other people's run, like he sent me some notes. We've talked a lot about the game, so yeah, I'm going to try my best to express his feelings about the run.
I'll try to fill in with some like interesting knowledge.
Yeah. And yeah, actually he also like earlier this year I got to try maximum speed. Actually, I loved it. I liked it a lot, and it really changes the way you play. And it can make some sections like really easy. Like, it's not at first you're a bit put off by it, but the more you play, the more you realize that Gradius 1 is. I think, yeah, it's really. I mean, for me, it's a much more fun experience with speed. And actually, in this one, it's not like you don't need that very precision movement like you will need in Gradius 2 or Gradius 3. So I think, yeah, max speed is a perfectly viable way of playing the game.
Why don't we just dive on in? What do you guys say?
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Are we starting at just the very beginning, or are we going to start at when credit is inserted?
Yeah, why don't we move up, since I did show the bubble system screen already. Let's try like 135.
Okay. Starts. Yeah, I'm at 141, but I'll just wait like 6 seconds or whatever.
Okay. 145. Okay.
All right, you all ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so a 3-loop clear by Scult.
I think we're only showing loops 1 and 3 though, right?
Oh yeah, we are showing 1 loop, and then we'll skip the second. We'll go to the 3rd loop just because there's not a lot of difference, and we'll keep it short and sweet here. You know, it's always nice.
Sure.
Alrighty.
It's Father's Day, you know. Got something to do. Or whatever. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
So we'll explain the basics for people who have never seen this game. Basically, in this game, you can choose the way you upgrade your weaponry. You have the power-up bar at the bottom, which have speed, Misc, etc. Basically, what you're going to do is when you destroy an enemy, you get tokens, and then you're going to be able to use the tokens however you want. So that's what's really cool about this game, is that you can do basically whatever you want with it. Like, some players will get laser before, some will get an option, some will get a missile. So it's basically like very adaptive, and I think it's one of the shmups where you easily see the difference between the players. Like, looking at someone's replay, you can sometimes even guess who's playing, you know.
Yeah, and there's definitely game definitely was ahead of its time when it comes to developing power-ups, and there's a lot of kind of like staples. So basically, just to kind of give a quick rundown. So speed up increases your speed up to 5 levels, at least on this version. In the NES version, I believe you can increase it up to 15 times, and you go so fast you can actually clip through walls.
Yep.
The missile is the downwards missile that you see going down, that it basically glides along terrain until it hits something, which is super useful. Double, we'll probably see later. Laser is the big blue beam that has an absurdly wide hitbox in this game. It makes it really, really good for killing enemies. And then options, or multiples as they're called in the overseas release, Nemesis, are those little orange orbs. They actually, in this game, I don't know how many people have noticed this, but in this game, the way options follow you is really, really weird and not like totally polished. I want to say it has something to do with the fact that the options are more so tracking player input rather than the Vig Viper's position. In later games, they perfectly mimic the movement, and even in like the PC Engine port, for instance, they fix the option behavior. This whole section's dumb, by the way.
You're absolutely right. The way your options move is a bit weird, and also the options are a bit buggy. Like sometimes they can appear at the other side of the screen, and this is something you'll see a lot.
They slip through the sides of the screen very often.
And
it's even worse at high speeds.
Yeah, it's even worse at high speed. And the thing is, unlike Gradius 2 and especially Gradius 3, you get very little spacing on the options on Gradius 1 if you don't have speed. So one of the benefits of having speed is that your options, you can basically spread them in a much wider formation. And if you're like at max speed or like 4 speed, like you can just align your options and basically don't move for like the beginning of the sections. And Yeah, exactly.
And it's even more powerful in this game, it seems like, because of the laser's big hitbox, and also the laser has really, really good piercing abilities. As you can see, like right here, for instance, you can take out this hatch by just sweeping the laser up and down, even though you're really nowhere near it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of risk versus reward thing when using higher speeds, is that it is a lot harder to control your ship.
Yeah,
so, and especially in narrow corridors, you're way more likely to crash into something if you're not really good at tapping a direction for one single frame.
Yeah. And right now, what Scout is going to do is actually a loop strat that basically crosses the zops. That's something he does for conditioning himself for the loops to get like better consistency. Yeah, that's a Swiss strat, but actually on the first loop you can just destroy him, like you get more points by doing that, but he likes to do that to like prepare himself like mentally for the loop. Yeah.
Also, this is
exactly.
This is Big War Mark 1, the best boss in all of video games.
Yeah. It has a very simple pattern. You can basically like dodge it really easily.
Destroy the core.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say also is that Scout chose to take all options before taking the shield. That's actually not something I would recommend to beginners. Like, I think it's good for beginners to like take 2 options or 3 options and then take the shield. Because when you have 4 options, it's not like a big deal compared to having 3 options. Whereas having the shield is really useful because the shield is incredibly powerful in this game. Like, it doesn't protect you from bullets from behind, but it's really powerful at destroying enemies and just like taking hits, more or less like a air type shield, except that you have limited hits. Right now it's the Moai stage, quite a wall for beginners in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and the double this is one of the few places where the double is really useful. So the double gives you the 45-degree shot that goes upwards at a 45-degree angle. But the problem is, because this game has like a 2 shots per ship limit. Both double shots take up those slide slots, so your rate of fire is a lot lower, and that's what generally makes the double like. It seems to have shifted in the past few years. The double used to be like really, really frowned upon, but nowadays I see players using the doubles a lot more.
Yeah. Basically, in any of the stages, you'll see players use the double or use the laser. It's basically up to the player's choice. Like on the Moai stage, it's more like orthodox to take the double, but some players take the laser, and I personally take the laser on this stage because I found the laser more consistent for protecting against Moai's destructible bullets. But it's really up to personal preference, you know, like you can
I personally use the double, and then usually I would switch to the laser for... So that sub-boss is actually known as the mothers, and the things they shoot are children, and yes, that is actually what they're called.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, but there is a strat you can use to get like extreme score out of that section by like lining yourself in the perfect position with your options and then using the double.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but he does that
really,
in later loops.
Yeah. And if you can get it, it's so satisfying.
Yeah. Actually, he didn't do it on this stage because he was scared and like forgot or something like that to activate the option. But you'll see it in the third loop. That is the fourth stage. Like usually considered the hardest stage after the final stage.
It's definitely a very like big difficulty spike.
Yeah,
sure.
It's a big difficulty spike.
Recovering in this stage is very difficult because of. For those who don't know, this game does use a checkpoint-based recovery system, and when you die, you lose literally everything.
Exactly.
And this often creates what we lovingly refer to as Gradius syndrome, where you can be in a situation where there are a lot of enemies and very few power-up opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
And this stage is kind of, like, it's not so bad in this game, aside from a few places, but it's really bad in later games. Also, this is literally stage 1, but upside down.
Yeah, exactly. It's reverse volcano
stage. It has
stage.
one of the best songs in the game if you don't count warning music.
Yeah. That's the Scout's favorite song on the OST. And actually, like, very, very recently, like yesterday, I found out that you have a safe spot for this stage with double, where you basically don't have to move at all for the stage. It works it works with 3 speed ups at least. With 2, it's not 100% consistent. Like sometimes it works, sometimes you have to move a bit. And yeah, with 4 or 5 speed, maybe we'll have the chance to show it later. But it's really fun because it's often seen as one of the hardest stages, but actually you have a very, very nice safe spot, and you just press autofire.
It reminds me of stage 3 in the arcade version of Salamander has a similar thing.
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
Those things are called the Iron Maidens. They replace the volcano sub-boss from... One thing that Gradius does differently than most other Gradius games is that almost every stage has a sub-boss before the actual boss. And, in stage 1, it was those volcanoes that erupted, but in stage 4, it's those Iron Maidens that sort of... Like, they go down pretty quickly if you have full power, but basically what they do is they kind of trail around the terrain and the sides of the screen in a counterclockwise fashion, and then once they line up with your ship, they charge at you, and if you haven't destroyed them by then, you're in a lot of trouble.
Basically, they're called sub-bosses, but more like enemy rushes. Like you have Zobs in stage 2, and in this stage you have like grains. It's something you see in some
golems.
Tentacle golems. And these ones are actually you can only have 3 at a time. So Scout uses that, kind of abuses that to leave them for leaving them alive and like not letting others come. And if you actually, I think these ones were inspired by like Pachiko balls, according to developers, and they actually took quite a while to implement into the game. But it's one of the most buggy stages because like it can really slow down a lot on this stage.
And if you're using the laser throughout the stage, it often like the weak point you need to hit on those tentacles is that little like orange. But the laser sometimes just misses it altogether. This stage is like I'm noticing that Scalt is kind of using the safe strategy of just keeping the golems alive. Yeah. But both the golems and their arms are 1,000 points each, and the more you kill, the more that spawn. So if you care about score, then what you can do is just destroy as many brains and arms as possible. And also, because the tentacle golems fire a lot, if you activate a shield during this stage, it is most likely going to get wasted within seconds.
Yeah. And in this stage, you can fire missiles, but they won't do anything to the golems. They are just there to make the game slow down, basically. And about score, basically you'll get higher score as you do the loops, but there's some milking spots, like you can milk spawners, you can milk there's a spot where you can milk like volcanoes on stage 1, but aside from that, it's relatively basic. Like you don't have a real scoring system. It's mostly about
the main
stuff
incentive for wanting to boost your score would be for getting extra lives.
Exactly.
I'm noticing that Scalt is playing using the first at 20k and then every 70k extend system, which is pretty standard for Gradius, but I don't believe that's actually the default setting.
Yeah, that's not the default. That's not the default setting.
I don't know what it depends on, but most of the time I see the default settings as first at 30,000 and then every 80,000, which really isn't that much worse.
Yeah, it's more or less the same, but yeah, it's really puzzling because that happens on some of the replays, and I don't know if it's a ROM in name or something like that. Like
I don't know. It probably depends on it also probably depends on what the difficulty setting is and all that.
Yeah, it's also weird in Nemesis US because Arcade Archive's default is one extent at 50k only, and most runs in you'll see in MAME are 50,000 and every
50,000 and then every 100k.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know this. Yeah, it's a bit of mystery, and I've asked a question in Discord and stuff like that, but no one knows, I think. This is the boss. I don't know what's his name. Maybe you know it.
Nucleus. The name is Nucleus,
yeah, Nucleus,
and you can farm from it.
You can milk it.
On the PC Engine port of this game, you can get almost 120,000 points, which is over twice as much as what you can get in this game. And what's funny is that the PC Engine port has a hidden bonus stage right before Nucleus, and just farming from Nucleus gives you almost twice as much score as going through the bonus stage.
Yeah.
And
this Misc is not entirely free because the section right after that is kind of hard with double. You ideally want the laser to intercept, if you want to be 100% safe, have the laser to, intercept the wave. And if you do that, you have to do the beginning of the stage with double. But aside from that, it's not a hard mechanic. So this is the final stage. You have a safe spot for Resan. I don't know if you know it, Super Viper.
I don't know it, but it's really this stage mostly just kind of comes down to keeping enemy fire contained and having a shield at all times.
Yeah,
it's debatable whether the double or the laser is better for this stage, and really it just comes down to preference.
Yeah, it comes down to preference, but I found the laser much more useful because of the hitbox. You have a safe spot, there's a replay by Taiso, T.ISO, a Japanese player, that does a 10 million plus. And basically you have a safe spot, he doesn't move at all in the stage. He starts moving when you have the spawners on the late section. It's really impressive. And he does the trick where the shield spins around you. I've never known exactly to.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you're the big cheese.
Polished.
Yeah. There were quite a lot of bugs.
It's hard to get everything right.
Yeah.
That movement though.
Yeah. But the bugs, unlike the safe spots, unlike Gradius 2, they weren't all intentional. According to the developers, there were only bugs and oversights. So it's kind of funny. So this is I don't know the name. I don't know the name of this thing, but it's classic.
I just call it the electronic cage.
Electronic cage, okay. So this is the classic indestructible mid-boss you'll get in every Gradius game in the Fortress stage.
Later games it became a spider walker robot, and then in the Gradius games it was Las Vegas stripper women.
Yeah. Basically something you have to dodge. Yeah, but this one is actually really easy.
The door is closing.
Here's the hardest boss in the entire game, legitimately.
Oh man.
Hitting those top connector things is legitimately harder than it looks, and it's even worse when you have high speed.
Yeah, the high speed makes that 10 times harder.
Yeah, actually, this stage is really, I find it quite easy at high speed because you don't have to move a lot. You only have to have your options set up. And the thing is, what is good about high speed, and we've seen it in the fourth stage, is that you can have your options way in front of your ships to shoot missiles, so that you clear the way. So it's kind of I don't think it's too hard at high speed. I think I think most stages are easier at high speed. Maybe stage 2 is a bit tricky. You don't want to move too much because of the.
All right, you guys want to start loop 3?
Yeah. So what was the timestamp again?
3106, I think, is what they put in chat.
3106. Okay. Okay, got it.
We'll talk about it, Skull. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, we can go back to that.
Yeah. All right.
Sure.
I'm ready whenever you guys are, and then once we get started, I'll answer this question in chat.
Ready to.
Okay, cool. Sure. 3, 2, 1, go.
So to answer your question in chat, Filial, what's the benefits of mashing the fire button with laser rather than holding it down? So holding down the fire button for laser gives you a way more concentrated stream, and the laser's main benefit is that it pierces enemies. So the longer you can extend the laser out, the more enemies you'll go through with one single burst. and when you mash the fire button, you don't get that same level of power, which is actually kind of one of the weird things about playing this game with autofire is that typically if you're playing on MAME with autofire, you're gonna really want to have both the button you can designate for regular fire and the double, and then a button you can designate for the laser, because the laser with autofire is not very good.
Yeah, that's good to mention, because it does suck.
If you're playing like on compilation ports, then autofire settings will automatically have the laser just extend to its full potential anyways. So that's a very good thing that they did.
I think it was a bit of balance they're going for, because I mean, if you want autofire, you can kind of pick the laser, and if you're not using autofire, and then the laser will function as your main firepower. Then instead of you don't have to mash the button all the time.
Yeah, there's some uses to have autofire with laser though, for like stage 5 tentacle golems, and for like the tentacles in stage 7, because if you those ones are only destructible by the tip of the laser. So if you don't have autofire in your laser, you cannot do that. So that's an oversight on Arcade Car Sports, which is otherwise fine, but you cannot have autofire on laser on.
What was that?
Wow.
Yeah. That's something about maximum speed is that sometimes you go so fast that your frames don't collide with the hitbox. It's kind of insane.
I would buy that. Okay, so I kind of briefly alluded to this in the Loop 1 version of this, but these volcanoes are like genuinely annoying because it is possible to like line yourself up right next to the tip of them and just fire lasers from your options constantly to get an insane amount of score. But the way the rocks spawn from the volcanoes isn't always consistent, and therefore,
you'll die sometimes.
It's possible that one of them will slip past your fire. But as you just saw, there are a couple of safe spots that you can use that will conveniently dodge all the rocks for you. So,
yeah, exactly.
Kind of going over the differences between loops. So the main difference in this game is just suicide bullets. That's really the only significant change made to loops, as well as higher rank as well.
You guys haven't really talked about rank yet. I don't know.
Yes. I'll say this real quick. When you get to loop 2, enemies have a 50% chance of suicide bullets, and when you get to loop 3, it's a 100% chance, unless they're like at the very front of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. And
you see some enemies that die right away don't fire suicide bullets.
And the way they work is that they're directed to you, but every 5 odd bullets and every 5 even bullets, one will be up and one will be down. So it's not random.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, and on loop 2, since it's random, it's a bit harder to predict. Like here, at least, you always get fired bullets.
He moves like a bee.
Yeah, because of the speed, you want to be really precise with how you.
It'll be a really smart bee.
Yeah, and this is, I think, one of the most impressive section of the run is the Zubrush, because that's the most difficult section of the loop. You need to dodge.
All of these Zubs fire suicide bullets, and their pattern is random. Somewhat consistent, but it's not. But it's very hard to memorize and formulate a route through, and dying here and recovering is not fun.
Yeah. So this is a static section, and when I did my tour, it was clearly the section where I died the most and I have to practice the most. And even though I had it by heart, what movement I had to do, there's several different routes. Yeah, it is static, but it's basically execution, and it's really stressful.
I guess that would explain why he dodges the front there.
Yeah. There's basically a bunch of different routes. You can find your route, but it's basically a section you cannot improvise.
Also, you guys haven't really talked about rank a lot. When you have 4 options.
Rank in this game has a bit of a complicated system. It's sort of like a mishmash of the sort of linear-based rank system that's used in Gradius 3 and the dynamic rank counter that's used in the Parodius arcade game. So it's kind of based. Rank in this game is basically based on the difficulty set by the dip switches, which is a static value that's initialized at game start. Your current power-up level, how many options you have, how much time has elapsed since your last death, and what stage and loop you're on. It's kind of a combination of all of those factors. And in Nemesis, which is the overseas port of this game, they actually modified some of the rank values. And in general, the game was made a little bit harder, but they compensated for that because when you die and recover in Nemesis, there's actually a bunch of power-up dropping enemies. which this game doesn't give you, and no other Gradius game does that.
But right now you're talking about US Nemesis, because there's a world Nemesis that is more similar to the Japanese version. Nemesis US,
combines the two.
Nemesis US is much harder, but the recovery is easier. Like the rank is much higher, generally speaking, but recovery is easier. And rank is a big thing in this game compared to like Gradius 2 or Gradius 3. Like you really notice the rank if you pick like the missile or the laser. And I've noticed it in Spain because I was dying at stage 4 and I had to recover. And I picked the missile because at home I play the game with autofire, but at Spain they didn't have autofire setting on the cap. And I couldn't mash fast enough to kill the Iron Maidens. So my strat was not to pick the missile, and then the rank was much slower. So it was a frequency I was able to tap myself.
It'll be but stage 4 on high rank is pretty difficult, and then the mechanical base is pretty difficult on max rank as well.
It's worse when recovering too, because again you have very limited power-up opportunities in those stages.
And that and that Zub rush back there, if you die like on that section twice, you can actually shoot those Zubs and try to like finagle your way through, and the bullets won't be, and the spawns won't be as crazy, right?
No, I'm pretty sure in this game. I'm pretty sure once you die once in this game, you hit the lowest rank possible.
Oh, okay. Well,
Sure it's that. Like it's not again, it's not like Parodius or Gradius 4 where
Gradius 4,
every time you die, it's like you die once and
it's minimal.
You can't make it go anywhere.
Except in the loop where it'll be set at a fixed.
Actually, rank does kind of go down like a little bit between loops, but with the suicide bullets, that doesn't really change much.
And what I have to say also is that Scout actually isn't consistent on recovery on the loop. He was he recovered. We didn't see it. Maybe we'll see it later. But he recorded on 2-2. But basically his strat is basically no miss or nothing. So I don't know if he's planning to do like a 10 million plus run. I really hope he does, so that he can show that it's possible to do it with maximum speed. But at the moment, like he really doesn't want to die at all. And having two-looped this game, I can really say like I didn't have any recovery plans for like the loops, because it's really hard. Like you could, and it's really possible. But as Refki once said, I think it's what type of frustration you'll be able to endure. Like, and I was able to endure like dying in the loop and like starting back, because my objective was just to clear the second loop. But it can be nice to be able to recover some checkpoints. I think in the first loop they're kind of fair, like except like stage 7 and stuff like that. But like stage 4 is one of the recovery you want to work on it, because actually most 1ccs of this game die at some point and recover. Like the Gradius syndrome isn't all that present in this game, and right now we're just
more prevalent in like Gradius 2 and Gradius 3.
And Gradius 3, Gradius 3,
this stage is the worst offender, because at least in Gradius and US and World Nemesis, there are no power-up dropping enemies in the entire stage. Well, aside from this beginning section, but that doesn't really count. So like you die anywhere. If you die and then lose the one speed up you get, you're in a lot of trouble, because these things fire a lot and they don't go down super easily.
It's not the easiest recovery, but honestly, I've died here a few times and was able to recover. Like it's doable. It's not it's doable. But you don't have any powers. You won't have any powers. That's the thing. And also, what I have to point out is that early on he timed out Big Core Mark II, because Big Core Mark 1, fires suicide bullet. Suicide bullets. So you want to avoid that sometimes, and sometimes it's just not worth the trouble to.
It's really not that big of a deal from my experience, but I can understand why you would want to do that. The major disadvantage with timing bosses out is that it usually doesn't give any score, because you get 5,000 points for destroying Big Core, plus I think 600 for the barriers and the core,
for the barriers. In Gradius 3 you get points for timeouts, but not in Gradius 1.
Yeah, I think there's a couple other games you do that too, but I don't remember them off the top of my head. Another interesting differences between Gradius and Nemesis is that sub-boss segments are generally shorter. Like this sub-boss segment is just non-existent in Nemesis, because apparently it was too hard. And I guess they just kind of wanted to improve the flow of the game a little bit.
Yeah, for operators, because in Europe they were used to shorter times. That's what was said on Taito for Darius 2 and Sagaya that Taito Europe wanted to have basically shorter cycles for the games. But actually, I think this is one of the cases where Japanese version is like the easiest one, because Nemesis world is basically the same as Gradius 1, but you have less extents because you have less enemy rushes before the bosses. And the US version, yeah, for me it's much harder. I don't know if you cleared. I think maybe you cleared it, Super Viper, but I think it's really harder.
I mean, the version on Konami Classic Series Arcade Hits is the Nemesis World version.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it is a lot harder, especially because, like I said, there are changes to how the rank system works in Nemesis, and generally the game is a lot harder. Also, stages 1 through 3 have some added enemies, and we haven't even talked. And I noticed Scalt pointed this out earlier. We haven't even talked about blue capsules yet. Blue capsules are basically just mega crashes. They clear the screen of all enemies, and they appear once every like 15 capsules, I want to say, somewhere around there. So they're not static, so you can kind of skip certain enemy power-up capsules in order to manipulate when they appear. But
yeah, exactly.
Usually
Scout
they're
does
not
this
all
actually. Scout actually does that for like stage 1, like kind of. I think he doesn't kill an enemy for manipulating that. It's not a major thing, but it maybe can help in some ways. And this is, I think, the like not in the loop, but like the easiest stage in the game. Like
it's one of them for sure, because there's a safe spot for Nucleus if you die to it, and the amoebas, they do take a little bit of punishment, but they're not all that bad. The real problem though is that like afterwards, then you have to do stage 7, and you can't get back up to like full throttle power. So like
exactly,
probably gonna be under a little bit of stress. Also, I just want to point this out, because with the first at 20k and then every 70k extend system, you get an extra life at exactly 1 million points, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. Funnily enough, so there's 3 of the different extend systems. There's the first at 20k and then every 70k. There's first at 30k and then every 80k, and then there's first at 20k and then every 150k. Fun fact, all 3 of them eventually get extra lives at 1,070,000 points.
Oh, that's some fun trivia.
That's really weird.
Yeah. But even though Scout didn't play on default setting, it doesn't change a lot for the record, because he did the free all with only dying once. So, you know, like his score, I think, is still can compare. Even though, like, he basically will sit on the 4-1, basically just stop playing the game and, you know, like, get tired of it. But yeah, it didn't matter a lot for his game. Yeah.
There does eventually come a point where, like, once you, like, beat the game, or, like, once you meet your goal for what you wanted to do, you just kind of get tired of playing. But
yeah, exactly.
But you don't just want to just stop playing, because then you look like a quitter, so you just kind of half-heartedly try.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And in certain cases, especially on higher loops, once you die once, it usually just snowballs into a game over very, very quickly.
Yeah. And yeah, Scout really likes this game, and it's a favorite Gradius because of the simplicity, because of the pace. You know, like it's basically like you have no downtime, and it's really fast. And I also like the game for its simplicity. Like it's a game you can always come back and have fun. And it's not like, you know, like Gradius 2, which is super stressful. Also in Gradius 3, you have a problem is that the shot is really slow, so it's kind of like annoying when you die and like have to recover. And the Gradius 3, you know, it's just like, when you play Gradius 3, it's not only for fun, you know what I mean? It's more like you have to have an intense experience,
Gradius 3 is really not the game you want to play for fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely a game where, like, if you're gonna play it, you better have a good reason to.
Yeah,
I would agree that this game has maybe stood the... I would agree that this game has definitely maybe stood the test of time, but I would also say that I appreciate the series for what this game eventually led to. But this game is still really, really fun. It's nice. Yeah. It's always nice to come back to and just, you know, play a random round of it.
Yeah, it's really one of my fun games. Like I like to do like a one loop clear every once in a while, and it's really fun. Like it's simple, and mastering the loop isn't too hard. Like it's one of the games where I can say I pretty much master the loop. Like I did every recovery, like tried every weapon, every scoring trick, and after that, you have the loops. But like the loop is more like marathon thing. But yeah, it's a really simple, really simple game, but really, I mean, revolutionary in the way it does, because actually it did not invent that much stuff. Like the laser is from Defender, the option is from Sega games. Like you know, like I don't remember the names, but like the options weren't invented by Gradius, but it really synthesizes everything, like everything that was made on the Schmoz before, and like adds lots of depth into it. Even though, yeah, I mean, Gradius 3 was more depth into it. Like, yeah, Gradius 1 is still, I think, a really good game.
I also, this is something I always found weird, is that, so in this game, the shield is a question mark block on the power-up meter, which means they intended for it to be a mystery. But in later games, you have the weapon select, which allows you to select which power-up is on that slot, which like, it can either be the shield or the force field, but it's still a question mark. Like, yeah. It's not a mystery anymore, so why is it still labeled like that?
Yeah, according to developers, they didn't intend it to have a question mark, but like they just like left it. They intended to have like several different stuff, but in the end they just left it there.
Yeah. And this game does have the score does wrap around at 10 million points. I think it still counts up, but like on the HUD, it wraps around at that value. And you can get up to like 500k per loop. So assuming you do optimal scoring strategies, which this run, yeah, and I guess this run just kind of gives up at this point.
Yeah.
Assuming you do optimal scoring strategies, I think it takes roughly about at least 20 loops or something to get to 10 million points. Which, if we average a loop at about 15 minutes, that's I can't do the math in my head right now, but it's at least a few hours.
Yeah. I think there's the run I was talking about earlier from TISO or T-Point ISO. I think it's 22 loops or something like that, or 20. And it's like 6 hours or something like that. And I think on the STG All of Records, you have the run reference. Like there's no videos, but it's reference. I think the player played like 70 hours or something like that, like really crazy.
M9 posted in chat, says Stage Tuner 10-6, Tuner 1 lives remaining playtime 67 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts.
I found that 201 lives. That's interesting because in Gradius 2 and in Salamander, if you get 100 lives, your life count overflows to 0, and at that point, the game actually assigns an automatic game over.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty
and
good.
And in Salamander, I'm pretty sure you can't actually do that without hacking the game, because I only found out it was possible on Salamander Portable, which has like a hidden extra settings menu that you can use to get your life count up to 90. And then you can insert credits to bump up your life count.
Yeah, because you have no extended Salamander. So
yeah. Salamander, by the way, a little less polished than this game.
Yeah, much less polished. I really like Salamander, but more for like the game design, etc., but not for the polish. This one has quite a few bugs. Yeah.
Life Force JP is so much better than Salamander, but Salamander is still pretty good.
I prefer Salamander, but more because it's the first game and because it has the direct power-up thing. But yeah, Salamander is it's more jank than this one. This one has a lot of bugs. This one has a lot of weird stuff, but it works out all right. Like for example, the laser having an insane hitbox is actually quite cool. To be able to shoot enemies even though they're far. It can lead to interesting strats, and you have some safe spots.
Eventually came back into like Parodius Da, for instance, the laser having a big hitbox.
Oh, okay, didn't know that.
Okay, so the recovery. I have the timestamp at 1920. That's around when the recovery is about to happen. So
we can go there. Yeah.
We can go there. Yeah. Okay. 1920. Okay.
Kind of just watch it and then maybe just kind of wrap up from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, I'm there.
Yeah, just let me know.
No, wait, hold on. Yeah. Getting ready. So on the bubble system countdown screen, they have a voice that says that, and it counts down from like 50 until the morning music countdown starts.
Yeah, takes a lot of time.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
So yeah,
perfect timing.
Yeah, it was a very bad
fact, by the way.
Well, we could have had
a
few seconds to see how that happened, but
I'm pretty sure the voice announcer for that did the like bubble system countdown is actually the same as the one in like Super Basketball.
Okay.
Which is another Konami game.
Okay.
What a legend.
I don't remember. I don't know his name. I just know that it's the same voice, and I'm pretty sure he's also the same voice in Salamander.
So Scout had worked this recovery a bit, but it wasn't entirely consistent. So what you'll see the route now is a bit improvised because of the rank, the Zops aren't going fast enough to have this regular route, and it doesn't have the speed to have this normal route. So you kind of have to improvise.
The dodge.
So, yeah,
This is
really
really fun to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially without slowdown. When you have full power and you're just firing at the Zubs constantly, you can kind of take advantage of the fact that you can somewhat use slowdown to make things a little easier to dodge, but you can't really do that here.
Yeah. And also, it's a section where you better not have a shield because the shield can accidentally destroy an enemy, and then you can have a suicide bullet from behind. The shield is actually quite good because it can protect you a bit from bullets from behind because the hitbox is quite big, but it's still not a good thing to have in the sub rush, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Big Core, we never really touched on it, but Big Core is the exact same every single time you fight it.
Yeah. Just ranks increases every now and then. So that led me to believe it was a bit different every time, but actually no, it's just a matter of rank.
It's still the best boss ever, though, and Aircraft Carrier is the best boss theme in all of gaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So iconic.
So yeah.
I don't really have anything else to add.
Yeah, maybe I would like to share my strat for stage 4. I think I linked it in the chat earlier on if you want if you guys want to watch it, because actually it works at even 2 speeds. Like it's not entirely consistent at 2 speed. You might have to move. At 3 speed, I've tested it entirely consistent, but it makes like stage 5, stage 4 incredibly easy. It's really stupidly easy.
Okay, we can watch.
I just want to say that I just want to commend this run because I don't know if it's being played on stream right now, but like getting through stage 3 off of a stage 2 recovery is not easy. So I just want to commend Skull for being able to do that.
Yeah, it was really nice.
This is kind of like the mother strategy I was talking about earlier, where you could just kind of destroy every mother over and over again.
Yeah, and I don't know what are his plans for the game, but yeah, it'd be really interesting to see him do like a multi-loop and 10 millions and be able to be consistent at every recovery, because I think he really has the skill to be able to do it.
But yeah, great runs from Scult there. Thanks for letting us watch the replay.
Yeah, definitely an interesting watch for sure. You've made me kind of want to... I usually use 2 speed ups when I play this game, but I definitely kind of want to dabble with the idea of max speed, maybe just for the heck of it.
Yeah, you should try it for fun. It's really an interesting way for at least for loop 1. It's really good. For loop 2, when I did my tool, I did it with 2 speed, so I'm not sure how I'll be able to transfer it for multi loop, but I think for loop 1, yeah, it's really interesting. And yeah, I wanted initially I wanted to showcase my tool, but Scout 1 was so much better in every way, and since I know the player and talked to him a lot, I thought it was much better to comment his run than mine.
Seems like with the high speed, he really opted for laser more often than double, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
some Gradius games do have that like diagonal movement is faster than horizontal movement, I think.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure about that. You mean like the non-normalized?
It's like what you use in like Crash Bandicoot speedruns where it's zigzagging, but it's obviously not really applicable in Gradius games because they're auto-scrollers. Which, by the way, is the main reason why barely anyone speedruns Gradius games is because they're auto-scrollers.
Yeah, but actually there's Suhiro, Japanese speedrunner, but I think speedruns like Gradius 4. But maybe that's like slowdown management. I know like in Gradius 3 you just shoot and like,
really the only places you can really optimize are slowdown and bosses.
Yeah, and bosses. But I think, yeah, Suhiro, I mean, I've heard the name. I've never watched his or her speedrun, but apparently like they do a very good speedrun on Gradius 4, according to Motmot, which actually I have to thank for... like I've played the Gradius on the Saturn Deluxe Pack like a few years ago, but he's the one that really got me back into the series and like pushed me for clearing it. So yeah, I have to say thanks to Matmado.
Thanks to Konami for making this game. Please make another Gradius game, or at the very least sell the rights to someone else so they can make it.
Yeah. So I'm ready if you want to watch the safe spot.
Yeah, sure.
Where's the link? I don't see it in the Discord or anywhere else.
It's just above Yeah, the one stage 4.
Oh, I see it. Never mind. I didn't realize that was the VOD.
It's okay.
Okay, sounds like we got one more video here, and then we'll wrap up.
Alrighty.
You guys ready?
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
So this is a clip I've recorded yesterday, just showing a very silly safe spot on stage 4. Basically, you can just stay there, not move, and pass the stage like that. And it works with at least 3 speed-ups. It's entirely consistent. 4 speed-ups and 5 speed-up is works. 2 sometimes it can work, but sometimes you have too much bullets coming to your shield, so you eventually have to move. But this stage is often considered like really hard. Like, I found it really funny to find a stage spot that makes it like really silly.
This again, like I said, stage 3 of Salamander has a very similar thing where
exactly.
assuming you're playing on like default difficulty settings, you can just sit in one spot and for at least the first half of the stage, because eventually in that stage you do have to move.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this looks pretty funny.
Yeah, it's really funny. And right now I'm using autofire.
Does this work on higher loops?
I'm not sure at all because I wouldn't think so because you still need a full shield to be able to do it. Like if you don't have a shield, it's not really possible. I think it'd be interesting it would be interesting to try. I didn't try it with 1 speed, but my guess it wouldn't work because of 1 speed.
Work with 1 speed up. 2 speed ups is a maybe though.
Yeah, 2 speed ups. I've tried it just like a few hours ago. It worked, but sometimes it didn't work. You know? But yeah, I find it quite funny that you have so many safe spots in and actually something you'll see in later Gradius games as well. Like
I just also want to point out on the PSP port on Gradius Collection, if you play with the small hitbox settings, the hitboxes on the Iron Maidens are so broken you can literally just stand still and they go right through you.
Oh,
one of these days I will get a video of that because it is hilarious.
Yeah. Konami are known for having like weird hitboxes.
And like the front half of Big Core is just completely non-solid, so you can destroy it with your shield.
Yeah.
And then also, every amoeba in stage 6 gives power-ups, not just the red ones, and I still don't.
I saw that in your run. Like they don't show in colors because I think you have maybe a recording issue where it's in black and white.
Every PSP video I record is in black and white because reasons. Too complicated to explain here, but
that doesn't happen. Yeah, but that doesn't happen in the Saturn port, but in the PSP, you have so much power ups in this stage.
I don't think it happens on PlayStation either. It seems to be a PSP exclusive thing, which is weird because the PSP port is basically just the PlayStation port.
Yeah, it's supposed to be based on Deluxe Pack, but some differences, there. Overall, I think the Deluxe Pack plays quite nice. Like you have some bits of difference, like you cannot go on the far left on the screen on the arcade version, where you can in Deluxe Pack. But otherwise,
it depends on what aspect ratio you're using.
You can play with the
you can play with the default aspect ratio from the arcade version.
Yeah. But even the default aspect ratio, like you can get some power-ups when they're about to leave the screen. You cannot do that in the arcade, and it's the same with Gradius 2. Like it's a really minor difference, but it can matter for some stuff.
I didn't know that.
But I think we said pretty much everything that needed to be said. We didn't showcase recovery strats, but if you want to have like a general tip for working recoveries, like try to figure out a route as you go. You have routes in every recovery, and sometimes even though you have like 1 life, you die, you have 1 life to die. Like overall, you have like many lives in this game. So even though if on your first life you don't figure out recovery, it's good to try like to never give up. Like if you die in Gradius 2 or Gradius 3, like final stage. Sometimes like it's over, but in Gradius 1 you like always have a chance to recover, and I really encourage players who get into a game to not be afraid of dying, because actually most 1cc's I've seen died at one point. My first 1cc on this game was on my last everything, my last life, my last, and just being barely able to get through the door. So it's something But I found really fun about this game.
If you want to play any of the games in this series, I will teach you anything you need to know about any of them.
DMs are open.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you have like a channel full of annotations on like hundreds of videos. So yeah, it's a huge reference if you're a Gradius player. Definitely watch Super Viper T, Fio2's videos.
Right.
Famous.
Good stuff, guys. Well, this was fun talking about two classics from Konami. Definitely tied together in a pretty strong way there. And learned a lot about Gradius. I think you guys did a pretty solid job covering the bases there. Some pretty solid rapid fire commentary. It was on autofire for sure.
Thanks. But yeah.
Thanks for coming on once again. Any final words from anybody or GG Maximo?
Subscribe to Bismuth. That is nothing related to do with Gradius, but just go subscribe to Bismuth if you haven't already.
Wow. Well, you didn't say. Well, why?
You just watch some of Bismuth's videos and you'll find out.
Hopefully that's not like some political thing or something.
It's speedrun explained videos. They're really really good.
Okay.
Just plugging him because he's awesome.
Okay.
Thought we had a secret Bacterian agenda going on there or something. Anyway, that was fun. STG Weekly 196 on Scramble and Gradius. Good stuff. See you next game, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right, see you next game.
Yeah, but it was like